Rent could be completely free and it still would not be enough for me to live with this roommate drama. If you guys have ever had a bad roommate, I definitely want to hear about it. So share it in the comments. First story, what an absolute nightmare. Giving us a whole lot of nothing. So I guess we're gonna find out. My previous roommate was only here for 2 months before I had to kick him out due to his poor financial decisions and not being able to manage his money, which put me in such a financial bind that I am still grateful to remotely have a roof over my head. Okay, yep, sounds like a nightmare.
The world.
He thought that giving me money over time was cost effective, and I told him rent has to be on time because I also have to budget for my own bills to pay for, and if they aren't, it disrupts the flow so terribly and causes me to rack on late fees, and my apartment complex is annoying with those fees. He is 26, I am 28. I decided I need to get a roommate because rent is expensive and I wasn't able to keep doing this on my own. Used a roommate's website and I found the dude. His listing said he can pay about $800 a month. Cool. Met him, had him come back to the place, and he only lived 5 minutes away. Okay, cool. Dude and I vibed together with similar interests, and I loved that. Had him move in close-ish. Hello, close-ish? Are you okay? Had him move in close-ish to March. Wanted to be nice and just have him start paying for March and not worry about prorated, and went over all the costs of how much his part would be for everything prior to him moving in. Had him apply at my complex, but the company my complex is under is just not great at communicating, but I did go through the right channels to at least get him added on. What he didn't tell me is that he was practically working part-time hours, and what I didn't do, which I am now doing in hindsight, is asking for pay stubs prior to moving in to avoid the same scenario. He also had a cat that wasn't fixed since December of 2025. This will be relevant later. The first month rolls around, my car needs a repair. He offers to help pay half. I didn't ask, he just offered. Sure. Then after I bring the car, suddenly I only have money for rent and not the car. Okay, that's fine. My friends helped me pay for it with my half and the half he was going to pay. We got to early March and he gave me $550. Rent between both parties is $630 a month without utilities included, which is about $805 per person total. So I was just blinking and I asked him where the remaining was. Well, I don't have it, he said. Okay, red flag number 1. I should have kicked him out then and there, but I wanted to be nice and give him a chance. I'm unfortunately a very nice and kind person by default. In my panic, I canceled a pre-planned trip that I had planned months in advance, and the room was non-refundable. I lost money there and I already took off work months in advance since I used to not have weekends off, so 24 hours of work was gone. I didn't have enough paid time off to cover that, so I took unpaid leave. I still went and my friend helped me out and housed me in their hotel knowing my situation, but when I came back, it took some time to catch up with payments since after paying my car repair, I was short a few $100s still. The first talk happened with my roommate. I told him not to be a people pleaser. If you don't have money, please don't offer to help me with big expenses. Set a boundary of what he can pay me, which would be just gas for picking him up to and from work. Oh, I didn't know you were doing all that. I was wondering why he was offering to pay for your car as like a random roommate, because he's using your car. And to just worry about rent, utilities, and internet, and splitting groceries when we went shopping for the home. He admitted that he wasn't working a lot of hours. I wish that was told to me prior to moving in, but it's fine. Advised him to ask for more hours at work. Cool, he said he would do that, and the first talk went well. He said he would do better, and I held him to it. As time went on, his unfixed cat became another problem in the house. The cat sprayed numerous times on my stuff and in the house in general, and I had to constantly harp on him to locate a vet because this cat needed to be fixed. Come to find out, he had this cat since December. In that time and moving in, he didn't set money aside to fix the cat. We had plenty of humane societies that are not expensive here, and he's definitely a first-time pet owner, and I tried my damnedest to have patience and teach him about cats since I have 3, but he would never call vets or even look around. I helped him look for vets. I even offered to help if he was struggling with coming up with the funds, and I offered to pay not only half, but full. He finally schedules an appointment after me parenting him to do so. The appointment is coming up, and I found out he invested in a Switch 2 to put on a payment plan, and I harped on him for that. I had told him I took 90% of the cost for March because he shorted my rent, and I had picked up a ton of overtime and unfortunately had to take out my daily pay so much to cover multiple bills, making me practically broke on payday with nearly nothing. He assumed that we would be financially stable. I told him we weren't, and investing in a Switch 2 when your cat needed to be fixed first and foremost is not a smart decision in the slightest, and I rescinded my offer to help him pay for the cat, and I advised him to give the cat to a foster because his priorities were all the way messed up. Rent is still late, and I advised of a game plan since I had to cover a majority of rent for the previous month, and I said he has to provide me his paycheck in full, which he told me was going to be $1,200 for April. I can't believe you're dealing with this. A complete stranger, and it feels like you're almost parenting a teenager and they're a stranger to you. Like, that would suck. It's not even like he's your friend. I felt that was fair to rectify the hell that he'd put me through with having to cover nearly everything for March. Come April, I did not get that amount. He gave me a little over $700. I asked him where the rest was, and he rolled back his words saying, "Oh, I meant this amount this week and another amount another week," which is red flag number 2. I think we're at more than 2 red flags, but sure, who's counting? Me. I am. The late fees were starting to pile up. Not good. I need to start getting this dude out and getting someone else. He told me that he just started working full time. So from the first talk in early March to early April, you had been working part-time? He admits, yes. That won't do, not in this economy. I told him I'm sorry, but giving me money over time and not on time each month is not going to work or be cost effective because shorting me and I have to take out my daily pay to cover the remaining expenses just to make us not go homeless. And I barely have anything for the next month. It's just gonna keep putting us more and more behind, and I need to find someone else at this time. He started to whine and beg me to stay, says that he makes $13 an hour and he can't access his pay early like I can. I told him time and time again the matter of budgeting, and I'm not sure what else this dude was doing besides eating out every day because he just would not eat leftovers that I cooked. And I'm a pretty damn great cook. I don't like accessing my daily pay as I would like to see my paycheck in full hit my bank account for once. I make $17.31 an hour, so it's a bit more, but I was able to sustain myself without a roommate for a long while. Right as I was kicking him out, he admitted to me how financially irresponsible he was and that he needed to pay his own bills first and foremost, and that is why he didn't give me his full half for March. While understanding, I told him this living situation couldn't continue, and I've had open communication from the beginning. I told him that I didn't force him to move in and he could have communicated with me from the get-go. I don't like troubling people with my problems, he said. When your problems start actively affecting my finances, then it's a problem. I gave him some time to move out. He thankfully got the cat to a foster, and as I'm writing this, I am still finding cat pee in my apartment. Ugh. But I do now have a competent roommate. Lesson learned to definitely get pay stubs. You had no proof of income and you're just allowing them to come in? That's insane. Doesn't mean anything though, because even if he was working full time, who's to say he wouldn't be getting a Switch, wouldn't be spending his money on takeout? You might not have ever received it even if he was working full time. You know what I mean? We got more roommate drama, but you know what time it is. It's hydration station. Cheers. Drink your water today. This is your reminder. You need it, and I care about you. Another day of being Lila, completely unbothered. Hello. Okay. You know, when I tried to hold your hand the other day and you pulled away, everyone in the comments said that before I did it, they knew you were gonna pull away because you're just so sassy.
You're so sassy. Hold Mama's hand. I'm your best friend. Cool. Cool. Like, you're literally obsessed with me in real life and you have anxiety the second I leave. Yet when I'm here, oh, I feel like she thought about it for a second.
Okay, our next story is not a Reddit story. It is coming in from one of you guys, and you want to be left anonymous. Hi Joss, I heard some of the stories you've told about roommates from hell, and oh my god, do I have a story for you. It's actually many in one, as I was very unlucky with housemates. For a bit of context, I am Portuguese, but I moved to the UK at 19 to do my university degree. I was told so many horror stories of university dorms that I decided to rent a room in a 6-bedroom shared student house instead. I could never. Couldn't be me. I get if you have no option though financially, like you're gonna have to do what you have to do. Big mistake. Year 1, a crazy guy loses his marbles. My first year there, it was me, a friend from Portugal, a sweet British girl, a mostly chill guy from Bulgaria, a British guy I barely remember because he was almost never home, and a guy from Bangladesh. The last guy was unfortunately the biggest problem. It started off okay. He used to cook a lot and leave his dirty dishes everywhere, which was annoying, but nothing I didn't expect in a shared house. We all told him off about this. What I did not expect was one night during Easter break at 10 p.m. when me and my Portuguese friend were chilling in the living room watching a movie, this guy burst in screaming at the top of his lungs that he was trying to study and our laughing was bothering him. He followed it by saying that if we were from an uncivilized country, that was our problem, and that we need to respect his wants because his studies mattered more than us having fun. If he had come down and politely asked us to turn the movie down or whatever, this would not have been the story. But his attitude, combined with the fact that my friend is a no-nonsense explosive type, meant that a yelling match began then and there. I am much less confrontational, and I mostly just sat there wondering who I would have to call an ambulance for when all was said and done. Mind you, everyone else was home and not a single soul came out to help. Thankfully, the guy tired himself out and went back to his room, but as you can imagine, the rest of the time living with him was uncomfortable, to say the least. Yeah. Now moving on to year 2. An entire Indian family moves in my second year. The house consisted of me, my friend, the crazy Bangladesh guy, who thankfully moved out halfway through this year, the same Bulgarian guy, who decided he wanted a tarantula in the house. See, I would rather sleep outside. I'm not even joking. I'm not even kidding. I could not. The thought of that escaping, are you kidding me? And a sweet Japanese guy and also an Indian guy. Well, a couple months in, the Indian guy decides to move his whole family into his 1 bedroom. His mom, his dad, and his sister. As you might imagine, this was a mess. They refused to pay more, even though they obviously made our bills skyrocket, and they would take over the bathroom every morning, making me late for class often. His mom would also hoard the kitchen for hours on end, taking over every bit of the stove and oven so that we could barely cook anything for ourselves. We tried talking to the landlord, but they honestly didn't care. The rent was paid for, so the rest was apparently our problem. They were there for like 4 months and it was miserable. That is way too many people in a space. Way too many people. That, what, 10 people living in this house? 1 kitchen? How many bathrooms? Now on to year 3. The police knock on our door. Final year, yay! Was it a calm year? Of course not. The house now consisted of me, my friend, a new Portuguese guy who quickly became another BFF, a British guy that was pretty chill, the same Indian guy, and another British guy who I will call M for the sake of this story. Now, the year started off pretty chill. We were not the Indian guy's biggest fans for obvious reasons, but mostly managed to coexist and even had a housemate's Christmas dinner for the first time, which was great. Isn't it funny how life likes to give you a fake sense of security before throwing a curveball? Anyway, after a few calm months, we started to notice a ton of people consistently knocking on our door all days and times asking for M. This was odd, especially because some of the visitors visitors would pop in once and never be seen again. Others became regulars, but regardless, it didn't really feel like they were friends. I think we all know what's going on here, right? A rug dealer. Can't say the word for sure. That's exactly what's happening. Mark my words. Calling it. It wasn't like he was constantly having people over or being hypersocial. They would knock, ask for M, go in his room, and then leave like 10 minutes later. It did start to bother us a bit that the house felt like a revolving door of random strangers, but we didn't think too much of it until one day my female Portuguese friend was walking into the kitchen and M's door was open. She happened to glance in, and lo and behold, there were giant jars of the devil's lettuce right there on top of his dresser. This dude had turned our house into a substance selling den. We were not very happy, but we didn't really know what to do, and we kind of just let it be. Well, Easter comes along and I am away in Portugal on holiday, but my friend stayed in the house. I suddenly get a call from her freaking out because the police is at the door asking for M. They searched his room and the house, saw he wasn't there, and left with the goods, if you know what I mean. My friend said that a couple of days later, an older lady, likely his mom, came to get the rest of his stuff that the police hadn't taken away, and we never saw him again. No idea what happened, if he was arrested or what. We also never confirmed this, but there was some suspicion in the house that he sold more than just herbs, if you catch my drift. So yeah, clearly my luck with roommates was at best non-existent, at worst probably kind of dangerous. Girl, I don't know how you did that every year. I don't know how you made it past year one. I guess you had a friend in the house, which might have helped, but oh my God. I always thought having a dorm in university or college would be so fun, but I think that's because the movies makes it appear like it's a lot more fun than maybe it is. Maybe it is fun though. Is it? Have you guys done that? Was it fun? Am I overreacting for kicking my best friend out after she said my husband is going to relapse? Mixing best friend with roommate can be such a risk. This story is pretty recently, April 15th, 2026. For context, my husband, 42 male, and I, 40 female, have been married for 10 years. We met when we were 15 and 17, and neither of us had an easy upbringing. We both came from pretty rough, traumatic backgrounds, and we coped in unhealthy ways, mainly through alcohol. By the time we were together as teenagers, we were already deep into addiction. We dated for about 4 years, and honestly, the relationship was extremely toxic. I won't go into detail, but I think you can imagine what it looks like when two teenagers with unresolved trauma and substance abuse issues try to build a relationship. My best friend has known me literally my whole life, so she saw all of this firsthand. Eventually, my husband and I separated. Over the years, we got sober independently. We went through rehab, therapy, and AA. We stayed apart for a long time while focusing on recovery. We only reconnected years later when we were both in a much healthier place, and we didn't get married until we were well into stable recovery. Now my best friend lives in another country for work, so we're long distance. We still talk all the time, messaging almost daily, and I see her once or twice a year when she visits. She couldn't come to our wedding back then because of financial reasons, which I completely understood. At the time, my husband and I weren't doing great financially either. Importantly, she has never expressed any concerns about my husband before, not once. However, 2 days ago, she was in town and came over to my place. My husband wasn't home because he was in an AA meeting. Yes, we still both attend those regularly, even after years of sobriety. It's something we take seriously and it helps us stay grounded. At first, everything was great. We were cooking together, laughing, catching up. Then she asked where my husband was, and I told her that he was at AA. She rolled her eyes and said, "He still goes?" That immediately threw me off. I kind of laughed awkwardly and said, "Yeah, of course." She started going on about how, quote, people like that don't really change, and how alcoholics always relapse eventually. She kept saying that she was worried about me, that I was putting myself back into a dangerous situation, and that she had seen this before. What really got to me was that she kept talking about my husband like he was still the same person he was as a teenager. She completely dismissed the years of work he's put into recovery, and mine too, honestly. At one point, she even started crying, saying that I wasn't listening to her and he's going to relapse, and me. He has never been physically violent, not even when we were both deep into our addiction. I understand that she probably thinks she's protecting me, but it felt incredibly unfair and honestly pretty insulting. Not just to him, but to me as well. After about 20 to 25 minutes of this, I was overwhelmed and honestly triggered. I told her as calmly as I could that I needed her to leave and she could not stay with us. We haven't spoken since. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I overreacted. Part of me feels like I could have handled it better or tried to de-escalate instead of asking her to leave. But another part of me feels like what she said crossed a line. Okay, this is more of a temporary roommate. She's obviously living there while she's in town with them. Probably a good thing that you're not actually full-time roommates then. Let me know what you guys think, but we do have an update and we're getting to it. It's 2 days later now. It's only been 2 days, but a lot has happened during this time. A few people suggested I talk to my sponsor before doing anything drastic, which I did the same day that I made the post. He knows both me and my husband pretty well, and he has seen our entire recovery journey, so I trust his perspective. He suggested I try to have a calm conversation with her and focus on explaining how her words affected me using the I feel/I felt statements. So I decided to FaceTime her this morning. It didn't go the way I hoped. She picked up and the first thing she said was, "So, have you finally calmed down and moved on from all that?" I still tried to stay calm and I told her I wasn't calling to argue, but to explain why what she said hurt me so much. I told her that the things she said about my husband didn't just affect him, they also affected me too, because I am also a recovering alcoholic who still goes to AA. It felt like she was dismissing both of our recoveries. She started crying again pretty quickly. Some comments on my last post mentioned the possibility of projection, so I tried to ask her if something had happened, if maybe she had met someone who struggled with alcohol and was violent, or if she was dealing with something that maybe she hadn't told me about. She got defensive and said no, and then told me that she would never do what I did and be with, quote, a man like that. We ended up talking for over an hour and it mostly went in circles. At one point, she said she only trusts alcoholics that she knows, meaning me, because she knows, apparently, that I won't relapse. I pointed out that that's not really how recovery works. There's never a 0% chance for anyone, including me. If anything, that's why we still go to meetings and take it seriously, even after all of these years. She also admitted that she's never liked my husband, and that part hurt a lot. Over the years, they have had plenty of conversations, joked around, and seemed perfectly fine with each other. She never once expressed any issue before, so hearing that now honestly felt like a bit of betrayal. She kept insisting that she knows how this ends and said she is completely convinced that he's going to relapse and harm me because she has seen what he's capable of. For clarity, my husband has never been violent. Not once, even at our worst, when we were both deep into addiction. He has never raised his voice at me, let alone physically hurt me. It was mostly just a lot of sadness and crying at that point in our life. I really tried to meet her halfway because she's been my best friend for over 20 years, but every time I tried, she doubled down. I told her I loved her and that I genuinely hope she's okay, but that I can't have someone in my life who sees me and my husband that way and refuses to acknowledge any growth. Then I told her I wished her the best and I hung up. So yeah, that's where things stand with the whole thing. It really hurts, but I think some of you were right. Sometimes people get stuck seeing a version of you that doesn't exist anymore, and no matter what I say, she won't change her views. I guess I just didn't expect that from her. That would be difficult. Breaking any addiction and putting in the work to get sober and to stay true to the recovery. Oh, and then imagine one of the closest people to you not acknowledging that. That would be tough. That would be tough for sure. I'm like just as confused as you are as to where she's getting all of this, especially because she doesn't live there. She doesn't see your lifestyle and your dynamic with your husband all the time. Very confusing. What are we missing? Next story is called Stuck with a nightmare. I had an accident at work and I had been forced to find shared accommodation due to financial restraints. I moved in about 1.5 years ago and everything was going well. The other two housemates are father and son, both older. The father is in his 80s. One of the first things the father said to me was that I couldn't use my own laundry powder. It had to be this brand as I would make him sick with allergies. I agreed, but I still avoided doing washing in the house. Late last year, I fell sick with a bad chest infection, and out of respect, I locked myself in my room until I was feeling well. Unfortunately, my illness lasted nearly 3 weeks until I finally started feeling better by taking a cough mixture, which suppressed my coughing. About a week later, I began to get quite sick again. This time, I ended up in the emergency room. The diagnosis was pneumonia, quite serious due to suppressing my cough and trapping the phlegm in my lungs. Another 2 weeks later, I began to improve and I was well again in 3 weeks. Once I was feeling better, I was confronted by the father who suggested my room had a foul smell and that it was spreading throughout the house. I have a cat who lives in my room as she isn't allowed in the house. Hearing this, I was horrified. I'm a very tidy person and I couldn't understand what he was talking about, but I was extremely embarrassed. I said I must have been too sick to notice, but I promised that I would take care of it. The father continued to berate me, saying how sick I was making him and how it was so unacceptable. Eventually, I went back to my room and I scrubbed every surface with strong chemicals. From this moment on, I have always ensured the gaps around the door were collected in certain oil to ensure that any possible smells were hidden. About 2 weeks after this, both the father and son fell sick with the flu. I felt terrible that maybe something I had made them sick, but knew deep down that I couldn't have done that. It was flu season after all, and many people were struggling with the flu. This did not, however, stop the father from again confronting me and claiming that I make them sick. This time advising me that I would no longer be allowed to use the washing machine or touch anything in the house belonging to him, which includes the kitchen. What do you mean? So at this point, I've been living in the house for a year and I've just been told I'm not allowed to use the rest of the house. I struggle with severe anxiety and depression, so I always have tried to remain as respectful as possible as to not disturb anyone, even waiting until people leave to have a shower, meaning sometimes I have to wait a few days. Oh my gosh, no! Just recently, I returned from 3 months away to discover the father has thrown out all my bathroom products. And 2 days into my return, I receive a note under my door again accusing me of stinking out the house and making the father sick with a cough, with nausea, etc. And I haven't heard a single cough in this house. I'm getting to a stage where I'm going to lose my patience over this person. The son and I speak often, and he has never really said a word about any issues, and if there was one, I'm sure he would have, but he's never said a single negative word to me. It's just the father. I can't afford to move at the moment, so I am completely trapped. In the time that I've lived here, I've used the washing machine 3 times and had maybe 30 showers. I avoid being in the house anytime someone is home because I can't handle the stress of being told off all the time. How do I tell this old to back the F off me without causing myself issues and getting kicked out? See, my advice is move, but you're saying you can't move. But you're paying, even if it's a small amount of rent, you're still paying for a house you can't even use. So you're paying for laundry outside of that. You're not able to shower. You must be paying for takeout if you can't use the kitchen. Tally all of that up and let me know what the cost is, because I feel like you're paying more by living there because you can't actually live there. Let me know your thoughts on all this, you guys. If you have your own stories, I definitely want to chat in the comments. So stay classy out there, stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.